In 1982, Reader's Digest compiled a collection of the world's most mysterious and bizarre accounts of the paranormal. This podcast is a collection of some of my favorites from this book titled Mysteries of the Unexplained. You are listening to Mysteriously Unexplainable. Alright, so today I'm going to read this about the Count Saint-Germain. And the Count Saint-Germain, if you're not familiar, you will be familiar by the end of this. If you're into like alchemy, different kinds of magic, stuff like that, you might have already heard about this guy. He's purported to have discovered the secret of immortality. Count Saint-Germain, he was a confidant of two kings of France, a dazzlingly rich and gifted social figure, the subject of 1,000 rumors, but no one knows to this day where or when he was born, or even who he was or when he died. A few believe that he still lives. It's been supposed that Saint-Germain was the natural son of the widow of Charles II of Spain, although theosophists have made a good case for him being the son of Francis Rákóczi II. That was the Prince of Transylvania. Either genealogy would place the year of his birth at about 1690. The musician Jean-Philippe Rameau was certain, however, that he had met the Count in 1710, under the name of the Marquis de Montferrat. He said that he appeared to be in his 40s at the time. The life of the self-styled Count is as shadowy as his origin. He seems to have become a celebrity in the 1750s as a friend of Louis XV and his mistress Madame de Pompadour, who together spent evenings with him simply for the pleasure of his conversation. Not only was he remarkably knowledgeable, but he had other attributes: artistry as a violinist, talent as a painter, skill in alchemy and chemistry, and a largesse with precious stones. He was known to carry jewels sewn into his clothing and was said to have presented a cross ornamented with gems to a woman he scarcely knew, because she idly admired it. The Count claimed that he had learned how to turn several small diamonds into one large one, and to make pearls grow to spectacular size. It was widely suspected that he also knew the secret for making gold out of base metal. Whether he was a genius or a charlatan, Saint-Germain had the talent to make himself noticed and the subject of gossip. But in Versailles and Paris he was embraced as the confidential advisor of Louis XV. The position earned him the envy and enmity of the king's ministers, who denounced him as an adventurer with a smooth line of talk. Matters came to a head in 1760, when the Count, at the behest of the king, involved himself in foreign affairs, going behind the back of the ministry. Threatened with arrest, he was obliged to flee to England, where he stayed for a while, possibly for a period of 2 years. From England, Count Saint-Germain apparently went to Russia, where it's claimed that he took part in a conspiracy that put Catherine the Great upon the throne in 1762. After that, nothing much is known of the Count until 1774, when Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette came to the throne. Saint-Germain now returned to France. It's said that he warned the royal couple of the revolution in 15 years in the future, saying, "There will be a bloodbath, a bloodthirsty republic whose scepter will be the executioner's knife." On the other hand, he consorted with many whose dabbling in the occult was actually a cover for revolutionary activities, and his real political leanings, if he had any, are still debated. The secret societies were the fashion in pre-revolutionary France, and some of them recognized Saint-Germain as an adept, one who knew the ancient wisdoms hinted at in the rites of the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the Knights Templars. And it was no wonder. In relating events of past centuries, the Count would deliberately lead credulous listeners to believe that he had been present. "These fools of Parisians believe that I'm 500 years old," he once remarked to a friend. "I confirm them in this idea because I see that it gives them much pleasure, not that I am not infinitely older than I appear." He attributed his youthful appearance in part to his abstemiousness, it's not even a word, and a diet that consisted principally of oatmeal. Later he lived in Germany as a protege of Prince Charles of Hesse-Kassel. Close friends, they worked together at alchemy. Most reference works say that the Count died at the prince's court on February 27, 1784. According to Maurice Malgray, author of Magicians, Seers, and Mystics, 1932, Prince Charles was uncommunicative about his friend's death and turned the whole conversation if anyone spoke of him. His whole behavior gives color to the supposition that he was the accomplice of a pretended death. Many continued to insist that the Count was very much alive. Documents of the Freemasons indicate that he represented French Masons at a meeting in 1785, and Madame de Genlis claimed to have seen him in the Vienna in 1821. Several travelers in the 1800s were sure that they saw him in the Far East and other parts of the world. Theosophist Annie Besant said that she met the Count in 1896, incarnated as a master or spiritual leader. Finally, in 1972, a Frenchman named Richard Chanfray claimed to be Saint-Germain, and to prove it, he appeared on television to demonstrate that he could turn lead into gold, as the legendary Count was believed to have done. I definitely want to see that video. 1972, Richard Chanfray. He appeared on television. I'm going to have to write that down. Alright, well that was the Count Saint-Germain. I've got a few minutes left, so I will read a few more of these stories here. In 1809, England sought to persuade Austria to join the Confederation opposing Napoleon. Benjamin Bathurst, a 25-year-old diplomat who had already distinguished himself in foreign service, went to Vienna to propose an attack on the French, who were occupying Spain, in return for Austria's alignment with England. It was proved a bad bargain. Napoleon was victorious at Wagram on the Danube River, and Austria was forced to cede territory to him. That fall, Bathurst began to make his way back home through Germany. On November 25th, traveling under the name of Koch and posing as a wealthy merchant, he and his secretary and valet stopped at an inn in Perleberg. A witness at the inn reported that he seemed very nervous. He asked the commander of the local garrison to provide armed guards against mysterious pursuers, perhaps agents of Napoleon. In the middle of the evening, as his coach was preparing to leave, Bathurst went out into the otherwise deserted street, walked around his horses, and was gone. His valet, who had been at the rear of the coach with the baggage, cast a look down on each side of the coach and saw only the hostler who had harnessed the horses. His secretary, standing in the doorway of the inn to pay the bill, had not seen him return. The soldiers stationed at the end of each street seen no one pass. The authorities searched first the inn and then all of Perleberg. Inquiries from the British Foreign Office brought a denial from Napoleon that his agents had been involved. Stories circulated that Bathurst had been robbed and murdered, that he had secretly gone on to port and been lost at sea, and so on. But all that's known about Benjamin Bathurst's disappearance from a quiet street in a small German town is summed up in the words of Charles Fort, the tireless collector of events that have no rhyme or reason. Under observation, he walked around to the other side of the horses. It's from the Dictionary of National Biography, Volume 1, page 1327, Charles Fort, The Complete Books of Charles Fort, page 681, and Colin Wilson, Enigmas and Mystery, page 37. It reminds me of that new movie coming out, The Invisible Man. If you get a chance to go see it, I don't recommend it. I saw the preview and it looks terrible. Anyways, this has been mysteriously unexplainable.